All right, okay, so you guys, thanks for coming today. We have Mike Foland, who's here to talk to you guys today about his career path in finance and especially being a stockbroker. And so we're glad you're here. And again, this is kind of a discussion, ask lots of questions, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. I'll just start out a little bit, just give you a little bit of my background, and then we'll open it up for questions. It won't be more than about 1 or 2 minutes. But what I do today is I'm a financial advisor. So it goes far beyond just the picking of the stocks, although I do that as part of what I do. The term stockbroker is becoming less and less relevant than it was 10 to 15 or even 20 years ago. And the reason for that is that most people out there are interested in developing what's called a financial plan, whereby they set goals for themselves for certain goals that they have financially. They might want to save money for education for their children. They may be saving money to buy a house for the first time. They may be saving for retirement. Right? Some people save money because they want to give it to charitable organizations. So what I do is we take a look at what a client's goals are. From that, then I devise their investment plan, whether that be stocks or bonds or mutual funds. And so I let their goals tell me how much risk they should be taking. Okay? And that essentially is what I do. There's a lot more involved with being a financial advisor than just picking stocks. It's a privilege to have someone come into you and say, here's my money, work with me. Okay? There's a tremendous amount of responsibility that goes with that. We are highly governed by the government, and as we should be. And it's a joy to watch someone meet their goals, to watch them work for 30 or 40 years and retire, to watch them send their children to college because they were disciplined and they put a plan together and they followed it. And we also start very basically. We start with budgets. You know, what is your budget? How much do you spend on a monthly basis? And what do you spend it on? And from there we look at that and say, what do you have available at your work site? Because oftentimes when you go to work, they have programs for you to help you with your retirement. For instance, if you are a teacher, they have a program through the state of Iowa. Yes, it's called IPERS, all right? And what that does is that for educators and county workers, anybody that's employed basically by the state of Iowa or a school teacher, is it provides them a pension when they retire. Okay? So for your years of service, you get a pension. For your generation, pensions are going away. Okay? It used to be that almost everyone offered a pension, which means that you worked somewhere for a while, you got done, you drew your pension, you drew your Social Security. If you saved a little extra, that was great. I will tell you that the onus for you, the onus is on you when you go out to work. Because of the way finances are working, you're going to be the ones that have to save your money so that you can retire. It doesn't mean that pensions will completely go away. I'm not saying that. However, there are fewer and fewer companies and jobs that give pensions. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But being a stockbroker, there are people out there that like to do that. As I said before, more and more what you're seeing is that not everyone needs to work with a financial advisor. I'm not saying that they do, okay? There are many people out there that like to manage their own finances. And as you guys had mentioned to me, is that you look at stocks and you've got some trading disciplines that you've put together, or you are interested in that. And so that's something that I do as well, but it's only a small piece of the whole of everything that we do. However, my experience, I am more of what you call a technical I do technical analysis, so that means I do a lot of interpretation of charts. I look at ups and downs, and that's a lot of my discipline of what I do. So with that, I'm just gonna open it up from there. I kinda got off at one more than 2 or 3 minutes, but I'd like to answer any questions that you have, and I'll just open it up from there.
Yep, I've got, let's see, Hunter, you can ask questions. I've got a trade on the simulator, something.
I know you kind of mentioned it, but like, what would be your average day? Just like a normal day for you?
A normal day for me. For instance, I'll just go through my day today, all right? I met with a gentleman that was 89 years old, okay? He didn't have any investments to make, but what he wanted to do is he came in and he had some shares of Prudential stock. And a lot of what I do as a financial advisor is that you want to have correct titling, and you help people to consolidate things and put them together so they're not getting a bunch of statements from here and there and everywhere else. So it's easier for individuals and families to look at what they have. And so when he came in, what we did is we transferred shares from a place that it was at before. It's usually, if you own a stock directly with the company, they're called the transfer agent. And there's a number of different transfer agents out there that hold the stock. What we did is moved it into his brokerage account along with his other mutual funds and stocks so that we consolidated it, okay? This afternoon at 1:30, I will be meeting with a couple for the third time. This particular gentleman lost half of his foot about 2 months ago, and he and his wife had drove semi for 40 years. And what we're doing is we're looking at their budgets. They're spending a lot of money on life insurance right now that they don't necessarily need. And so we're going through a planning process with them. As people get older, they have to consider if they're going to need long-term care. And what that means is they are not able to take care of themselves, or they need assistance doing that. So maybe at this time it's going to be better for them to not have as much life insurance because their house is almost paid off, their children are grown up, and so now we're going to look at what their needs are going forward. Okay? At 3:30 this afternoon, I'm going to meet with somebody for the very first time. They have a lot of money that's in a savings account, and they want to talk about investments. And so what we'll do is we'll sit down and I'll go back to the goals again. What's the money for? That's one of the most important questions that I ask my clients. What's the money for? And that can be anything. Well, I want it to grow. I want to use it for retirement. I'm thinking about buying a second home in 5 years. It's not prudent of me to have someone come in with money and say, oh, I've got these great stocks and these great mutual funds for you. That's not the right thing to do, in my opinion. Because depending on how long or when they want access to the money, that controls, do I buy stocks? Do I tell them to leave it in the bank? Okay. So that's my normal day today. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, what would you say to like somebody who has about $300, $400 to put in, trying to expand that up to like, say 1,000 by 1 or 2 years? What would you say to somebody trying to do that?
The first thing I would say, Cedric, is how much are you willing to lose?
Well, I mean, it's not like I have money in, houses or kids
Right.
or anything, so I can
Sure.
take risks.
Okay.
That's just birthday money.
Okay. Good. So, I think that if you're gonna trade stocks, to me, the most important part for me is what are you willing to lose?
I'll go 100% risk, because it's not like, as I
Okay.
said, it's not like I have,
And that's fine. Yeah.
You don't have
anything.
kids to support.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have kids, I
Right.
don't have to buy myself food, I don't have to pay rent.
Okay.
So,
what I would do is what I would say is this, is that whatever the process is that you follow, be true to it. Don't deviate and let your emotions get in the way.
Because I've seen some people who it's like they invest this money, the next year it cuts in half, like, oh my gosh, I have to take it all out to cut my losses. But no, if you leave it in, it will go back
Yeah,
up.
just
Don't let
Like
your
pattern trading.
just like that's what my dad also tells me. Like, don't be obsessed with like if it goes down a percent, because it
Mhm.
always will go back up at some point.
Typically.
And
Typically,
Mhm.
unless, yeah.
then
Like-
you have time too, so you have a little bit of time to let it grow.
One thing my dad always taught me, because he does a lot of investing too,
Mhm.
is if you ever see like a company kind of go flat and it drops just a bit,
Yeah,
hang on to it, because a lot of times that leads to an uptrend. And
right.
if it goes back down, then you can start to look at your stop loss on there.
There you go.
But no, a lot of times it leads up to an uptrend. If
Right.
it ever just goes down a little bit and dips.
Mhm. So if it trades at 67 to 70 for a long time and then
Mhm.
dips to 62,
Yeah, and
Then you can buy
off- Yeah, like that.
okay? And I just did that with a stock. It's called VF Corp, okay? VF Corp, the symbol is VFC. And you ever heard of Lee jeans,
Yeah, I have.
Wrangler jeans?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
How about North Face?
I think I have, yeah.
You know what North Face is? VF Corp owns all those brands, okay?
So, oh.
So if you look at VFC, you'll see that there's a pretty good trend there for a while. And then recently it just dropped about $6-7.
Now it's going back up.
Yep,
Oh, this is
and I
good.
bought that 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see it.
You did good.
Yeah, I bought, and I think that's the kind of trend you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that is pretty, like, impressive, to be honest.
So,
Because it patterns itself out. You can see it dip down, go
yes,
back up, dip down, go back up. That's
You
a
can
nice
kind of tell
pattern.
that down because
Right,
that
here. Let me
So-
switch that over to candlestick.
So Mr. Folan, you said that stocks are kind of a portion, a piece of what you do, kind of a piece of that
Yes.
puzzle. What is the favorite thing that you do? Like, what's your favorite part of the job as a whole?
my favorite part of the job is seeing people realize what they've accomplished. To see people walk away from work and say, I'm ready to go. Because we've talked about what they want to do in retirement, or watching their children go to school. You know, they start at 5 years old and people start putting money away, and now there's money there. And having, I think the other thing that's really interesting is about what I do is having discussions with people to understand what motivates them. Okay? There are life experiences that motivate people to do certain things. And once you start to understand what those motivations are, then you're building a friendship, is what you're doing. So, is that a good answer?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
Cedric.
Cedric.
Okay, so this one happens to me all the time when I'm like on the simulator.
Mhm.
Like, how do you find good stocks that aren't pump and dumps?
Mhm.
Do you just go through the company list, check through every one if they're good?
Yeah, if you're doing it, if you have nano stocks, okay, if that's your focus, they are pump and dump.
Yeah.
And what does that mean, pump and dump?
Like, basically, should I explain it or do you want to?
Go ahead.
Basically, it's when a company advertises a stock
Mhm.
and lots of people buy it, the volume goes up, and this
It goes right
company,
down.
yeah, the company would
fast.
buy millions of shares in it, and it would go straight back, like, just to get the volume up, have the stock go up, and then they sell off all their shares, and it just goes drop right back down.
Yeah.
And normally the people lose their money in it, but they make millions off of it.
They can.
Yeah.
Yep. And in that situation, if the way that you explained it, like the company themselves, like people that own the company, all right, do some research and go back and Google Martha Stewart. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now, this was back in, here's one thing that they watch on that pump and dump. I want to remember where I said we're highly governed. It's called insider,
Trading.
yes. Okay?
It's when you know people from the inside that knows when the stock is going to go up and you buy it, right?
Yep. That's illegal. She got put in jail for that. Okay?
Yeah.
So, every application that I fill out for a client, it says. Are you on the board of a publicly traded company? Are you a senior officer in a bank or a lending institution? Okay, are you part of the military? And if they answer yes to those questions, then everything they do has got to be recorded as to when they bought, when they sold, and it goes to another level of watching their accounts. So,
Do you have like any software that can help you? I'm not sure, like technical software or software that can kind of sift through, like I know if you look through company lists, you'll just find a bunch of like flatliners, I guess what you call them.
Yeah.
Ones that have no volatility at all, that just stay one price for months. Like, do you just have to put in a lot of time, look for good stocks? Yeah.
I like looking at the ones that have the biggest range.
Yeah,
Whenever they go down, you can buy.
I hate
Hopefully-
non-volatile stocks.
Yeah,
It's
me
just,
too.
yeah.
Like if there's something like $1 and then the high is like $1.05 and like,
Yeah, like-
there's not much flow.
The ones that just stay the same for about 3 months, they might go down a $2 change.
I'm like,
Stay the same.
I want to see something like this, like
Yes,
VXP.
that
That's like a good stock to invest in.
it does.
Right.
Yeah.
now, what I would say is this also, is that I'm gonna give you a couple websites, okay?
Show you the phone.
One of them is called Big Charts.
.com.
So if you go to bigcharts.com, there's a ton of information in there that can help you with different types of technical analysis.
See, this was the stock that I was looking at. As you can see, it's been
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, this is just a 1 month chart. 2 month shows it kind of dipping up and down more. As you can see, it's dipping down, and I've already made a little bit of profit on my simulator because I bought at the very beginning of the day there, and it's gone up a little bit. But what I'm expecting it to do is go up, and when it reaches, my plan is when it reaches about $3 or what is that? Yep, $3.90 to sell.
Right.
Do you think that'd be a sturdy plan, or?
Mm-hmm. See that chart? See that right there where you've got that big body?
This right
Okay.
here?
Okay, first of all, that's called a candlestick chart, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, candlestick.
Where did they come from?
Technical, right?
Yeah.
Or you use them in technical analysis.
Right, but I'm just at, because this is how deep you should go in my opinion, okay? Where and how did candlestick charts start from?
I have no idea.
Japanese in the 1600s trading rice.
Wow.
Wow.
Were they like doing the price of rice, or?
Mhm. If you go in, all right, and
Like,
if you go to big charts,
let me copy it. Or no, I think I already got it pulled up. Was that the wrong symbol?
no, that's okay.
BVXB.
Yeah, what I want to show you in here is if you go in there, you can look at the history of all these different types of technical analysis. All right, now I may be off a little bit on the 1600 on the Japanese, but I like candlesticks, okay? Now, within the candlesticks, what you're going to find when you go out online and you read about them, if you go back to the chart that you were at, where you had this great big body,
Yeah, 10.
See that right there?
Yeah. Of ups and downs,
yeah,
it's pretty volatile.
this
at that
is
time.
not almost perfect, but inside this body here, all right, if it's white or if it's red,
White means up and red means down, correct?
correct, for the day. Now, what you're gonna see here though, is within this is where it started, this is as low as it got.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it means that it either opened here at the top of the solid red and closed at
Yeah,
this
it's a
solid red.
volatile day right
okay?
there.
But what that's showing you is open, close, all right?
And then that.
And then
lowest it went
that's
today.
how far it fluctuated throughout the day. Now what happens is when you get something like this right here, if this body was a little bit smaller and you're in a bit of a downtrend here, it's called a hanging doji.
That's
and
good
when you-
or bad?
A hanging doji usually is a good buy signal.
So,
Okay, and when you go in and research all of this stuff, you're gonna be able to look at all of that, and you're gonna be able to see you're gonna start picking up some other patterns. You know,
Yeah.
and that's why I said before, be true to your process. Okay? If you get emotional all of a sudden and you see a hanging doji and you don't buy it,
Yeah.
you got away from your process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
So Mr. Foland, if students
Yes.
are interested in finance, like what
Yeah.
did you study in college? Like what was your education required to get to be a financial?
Well, here's what my degree is in elementary education.
Oh, cool.
Okay? However, most people end up with a degree in finance,
Okay.
accounting,
Mm.
okay? And just because Cedric and Hunter have talked a lot,
Mhm.
okay? One thing that I would look at is that right now you have a strong desire to look at stocks and trade and do things like that, okay? One thing that you might want to take a look at is maybe you don't want to be a financial advisor.
I probably
Maybe,
would be looking for a trader. And
exactly.
yeah, I would like to
Okay.
be. I don't think I'd want to be like an investor full time, having a business
Exactly.
running a, but
Mhm.
invest profits to, you know.
So what that path is that if you have a desire to want to manage money,
Mhm.
okay, then what you do is you go to college, and typically what you're going to do is probably end up with a degree probably in finance. Then you go forward and you'll get a master's that's more specified to become a portfolio manager. Okay, so that means that, for instance, there's 15,000 different mutual fund companies.
Yeah, you got Fidelity.
Okay,
What's that other one called? I can't think of it now. Vanguard. Yeah.
And what happens there is that all these companies have different funds. They have people that manage those portfolios. All right? Now, to get that type of a job, you would get a finance, usually you end up getting a master's, and then you have to pass an exam that's called CFA. Okay? So Google that. It's called a Chartered Financial Analyst. And what I've heard is that that test is more difficult than the bar exam to become an attorney.
Wow.
I can't say, I've never studied it, I've never looked at it, but that's what I've heard, all right? But once that is done, you're not only gonna do technical analysis, you're gonna go, if you really enjoy mathematics, from the standpoint of later on, has anybody here ever heard of quantitative or qualitative analysis?
No, I'm not.
Okay? Google that. And start looking at what they do. Cedric?
Do you think that it would be better to go online and buy stock on there with something like Fidelity, or go to, since those prices can be like pretty cheap. I know you can get blue chip funds for $250, or go to somebody in person and manage your money there too.
Usually that
What
first-
would I say? I would say that if you're doing the research, all right, and you feel comfortable about your process of what you're doing, then do it yourself. I mean, you shouldn't pay me to do that just to be,
Extra sure, pretty much.
yeah, because what I've seen happen back in 2000, the market really dumped.
Yeah, the internet bubble. The
Yeah,
internet just went.
and then you go back to 2008. Myself personally is that if you were an adult now and came to me and talked to me about what you were doing, all right? And this is just my viewpoint, and it might be pretty brash, you might consider it to be rude. But if you were to come to me, I would say to myself, the only reason that you need me is to find somebody to blame. Because it doesn't work for you. Because you've done your research and you've looked at that and you've said, well, this is what I'm gonna do. And I checked it with the professional and he said it was okay and I'm paying him a commission and it doesn't work out for me
So it's his
and,
fault then.
yeah.
That's how I was wondering.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm right, okay? And that is not meant, but as into this as you are, just keep doing it yourself, okay? Keep talking to your father and keep talking to others about what they do and how they do it. You've positioned yourself very well to have a good career in finance. The other thing that I want to mention is this too, okay? Is that as far as women are concerned, more and more women are taking charge of their finances. And more women are becoming business owners. There's a lot of different areas when it comes to markets that you can take a part in. Okay? One thing we didn't even talk about was bonds, all right? You can become a bond. But what you're gonna wanna look at going forward, as far as a focus on certain things, all right, is you're gonna wanna focus on business classes. You're gonna wanna focus on accounting, qualitative, it's called quant, okay? Qualitative, quantitative analysis, okay? Marketing's not gonna hurt you. Look and see what they have offered for business.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.